So first of all, I want to thank everyone here at Google for organizing this event. With such a large crowd, it's not the easiest task, and it does take a lot of hands on Google side, Matt's side, the SmartSites side. So again, thank you everyone for helping us prepare. Also want to thank everyone here for joining us. It was not the easiest commute here, I'm sure, for a lot of you. Even if you're coming from different parts of New York, it was pretty crazy today. So thanks for braving the traffic, and thanks for joining us. Unfortunately, I don't have any exciting videos to share with you guys, but I'll try and make my section as interesting as possible. The first part I want to share with you is just a little bit more about SmartSites. Many of us know who we are and what we do. Some of us may not be too familiar with our whole story, so I'll go into that. From there, I'll talk a little bit more about the customer journey, and then I'm going to pass it over to Mike to talk about automation. And finally, Alex is going to end the section with a little quiz. So he's going to ask everyone to take out their phones. So do listen, because he's going to quiz you on what we're talking about. And there are some really cool prizes, so definitely important to listen up. All right, so here are the speakers that we just mentioned. So if any of you were lucky enough or happened to visit the SmartSites website this morning, you may notice a pretty big change. So as of about 5 a.m. today, the new SmartSites website is launched. So we're really excited about that. Long time in the making. This actually would be a video, but didn't prepare it that way. So who are we? We're a full-service digital agency. We do everything from website design and development, even for our own brand, along with online marketing, specifically search engine optimization, and pay-per-click, which is why a lot of you are here today. We have a lot of exciting accolades that if anyone in the SmartSites team is here, that we have plenty of people that can share you more detail about SmartSites as a whole and their experience with the company. So here's a briefer history of Google. Matt gave a really nice recap of why it was started and how it was started. But about 2 years after the company was founded, they started offering this ad program to let people who are advertising get their name out a little faster, because the Google algorithm is completely complex, and to be one of the first few positions organically is a very tricky task. So they started allowing people to bid for that first position. And like any business, once someone saw a need, they started actually helping people set up their ads and help them get #1 quicker, help their ads look better. And Google saw that and said, hey, let's make sure we weed out these people who are just not that good at their job. And they offered the, what's called a Google CAP program, or Certified Ad Professional, in 2005. So it was about 1,000 or so people who took this exam and became qualified individuals. Alex, he's here somewhere, he was one of those first 1,000 people to be in that program. So really excited to have him as one of the founders of our company. In 2011, if we flash forward a little further, SmartSites was founded. And one of the core principles that we were founded on was Alex's strong knowledge of Google. So one of our first initiatives was to join this Google Partner Program. And we were really excited to join 2 years after we started the company and help people like you set up their ads and really follow Google's best practices. I guess we were noticed by Google because 2 years after that, we became Google Premier Partners based on several ranking factors, including the way we are following best practices, the amount of accounts that we manage, and most importantly, customer satisfaction. And that's where we thought we peaked. We were really excited to be a Premier Partner. But lo and behold, there's a step up above there. And sorry for the ugly graphic. There's actually no Google Channel Partner badge, which hopefully one day will be developed, Matt. Waiting on that. And the way we joined this program was, again, just by helping all of you see your potential online, grow your accounts. And they actually sent a satisfaction survey to a ton of our clients to see not only were we managing their account well, but they were happy with SmartSites as a whole. And all of those things led us to be where we are today. So we're excited to be in the channel program and do more events like this more often. And again, thanks so much. As I mentioned before, there are several members of the SmartSites team here floating around. So if any of you have not met your account managers or PPC analysts or project managers in person, now is a fantastic time. It's really exciting for me to help you guys connect, because with the business that we're in, is such a remote thing where we're on the phone, we're emailing, and a lot of times I never meet the people that I work with. So today and days like this are just great times to actually shake hands with someone and get to know them. Finally, I want to again thank you guys for being here today and for helping us get where we are today. As I mentioned last time I was here on this stage, there are a lot of amazing people in this room. And while it's great to meet the SmartSites team, I also encourage you to just say hi to a few strangers ask them about what they do, ask them their story, and if they're current clients, ask them about their experience with us, and they'll be happy to tell you a little bit more about who we are. Also, again, thank you. So I'm going to start by talking about the customer journey. And before I do that, I'm going to share with you a little bit of consumption data and how people have been interacting with different media that all of us are used to. So back in 2016, we'd be averaging about 4 hours and 40 minutes per day watching or consuming television. That number is severely decreasing. The same statistic showing 14 to 18, we were spending about 4 hours a day on digital, which could be mobile phone, tablet, desktop, has risen from 4 hours to 6 hours, and a few other stats here. So you can see kind of a nice breakdown of how things have changed over the past few years. And although digital has been trending upwards over the past 6 years, the actual amount of people spending ads digitally is not catching up with the time. So while almost half of our day is spent on some sort of device, we're only spending about 25% of our resources advertising digitally. So we're definitely here to help you or show you the importance of why it's better to spend digitally than on maybe some other traditional places that you might be used to. So where does this journey begin? And I think if you're anything like me, it starts with a phrase like this, which I probably say to myself 4 or 5 times per week. Let me Google that really quick. And this can be anything as simple as finding the closest Starbucks or figuring out what kind of recipe to make for dinner tonight. But if we're talking about the consumer journey, it can be something a little more complex. So when these things happen today, it's not just sitting down at a computer like we were maybe 10 or 15 years ago, making sure the phone cord is unplugged so we don't lose our connection. 90% of people use at least 3 devices during their journey. So that could be a mobile phone, tablet, desktop. And this does not apply just to e-commerce or anything like that. It actually can drive people into stores, or it could be some other exciting things as well. So I'm going to show you an example that we had very recently here at SmartSites. So Mike had the great idea to do this quiz at the end of this presentation. And just doing a quiz is pretty boring because what's in it for you guys? So we do have 3 awesome prizes, one of which is a VR headset, Oculus. So thank you, Mike, for the great idea. So Mike was at home one day after work a few weeks ago, and he thought of this VR headset. And the first thing he did was take out his phone and say, "Okay, Google, what are the top 5 VR headsets around?" And that led him to a slew of different articles and places, and I'm sure he got lost in a dark web of different devices. From there, he came back to the office and said, "Hey, Matt, hey, Mike, what do you think about doing VR headsets as a gift for the event?" We said, "That's a great idea." So we sat down together, we looked through his filtered list, and then we did Oculus reviews for three or four different headsets until we finally set upon the one that we all loved. So while it started with one person in one town, it came back to Paramus, moved back to Alex's house, to my house, and this experience just happened probably over 6 or 7 different days, 7 different devices, which led to the gift that we have for you today. All right. One thing you all need to know is that when you go from a desktop to a mobile phone to a tablet, the experience can be completely different. So a lot of people, which I'm surprised about, they actually don't spend the time to sit down on their own websites and see what it feels like from a user experience perspective, because you may sit down on a computer and say, wow, my website is great. It has everything that I think I need, or I think that my clients need. But if you drill down to a few other devices, it's really not on par with some of your competitors. So what I like to ask people to think about maybe when they go home today or spend some time is, how do your clients experience your website across multiple devices? Is the experience the same on a desktop, on a tablet, on mobile? Is there any sort of friction, as Matt alluded to earlier, that you can help avoid, that can help make the experience better? And before I end my segment and pass it over to Mike, I'll leave you with 3 more questions, so sorry for asking so much. But when someone gets to your website, what do you want them to learn about your business when they visit your site? And not only that, but what do you want them to do when they get there? And have you tried to go through that experience and gotten to the place that you want them to go? And finally, what do I do once the customer has visited my site? we have thousands of people that visit our site per day. What do we do with all that data? How do we make it actionable? How do we turn those people into future or potential customers? I think that's a question Mike will really help us answer. So that's it for me. I'll be out there a little bit later, so if you have any questions about what I spoke or just want to learn about me as a human, I'm around, and thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you, Matt, for setting the stage. So today what I'm going to speak to you guys about is really looking at data and measuring performance. Because kind of at the core of marketing, digital marketing, and really even business operations, it comes down to how do we measure it, what's the data. So it's not just subjective, we actually have something to back things up with. So I want to start with a quote, and this is surprisingly was said actually over 30 years ago in the early 1980s by William Deming. He was actually one of the frontier people in business management, and he said, "Without data, you're just another person with an opinion." 30 years later, not much has changed in terms of that, and it's more true. And I think the bigger point that I'm going to show you today is that data is a lot more accessible, it's faster, it's cheaper than it ever has been. So 30 years ago, while this was something that was applied by big companies like General Electric, now really that same data could be used by everyone in this room. So most of you here are exposed to data kind of that looks like this. Every month you get a report from your marketing company, from your data company, whatever the case may be. If you're one of our clients, in fact, this might be one of your reports. So we send it out every month. By the 15th of the month, you get it, like clockwork. And we do all the reports manually right now. And actually, right now, we're making over 250 reports per month. Each report has anywhere from 5 to 10 slides, depending on what services you have with us. And every slide has around 10 data points. So if you really think about it, every single month, we go through this really, really manual effort about putting thousands of data points into PowerPoint reports just to be able to look at the data. In fact, we have 3 people full-time working on reports, 1 person making it, 1 person checking it, and 1 person checking the person checking it. Because if you think about it, we have tens of thousands of data points, so even if you're accurate 99.9% of the time, you're going to make, say, 40, 50 errors per month, so we're really diligent on it. But even with all this effort, and we put a lot of effort into making these reports and looking at it and being very analytical, the bottom line is the data, there's not much there. You're really limited to the 5 to 10 pages you have, the 5 to 10 slides. The data is static, so you see it from, say, month to date. But if you want to see something from yesterday, you just don't have that option. That's not in the report. And there's also no integration. So if you have a CRM system, if you have a point of sale system, maybe we'll go in there and copy paste some numbers, but really there's nothing integrating it with it. So we're really excited. Something we've been working on for well over a year is looking at this and saying, hey, how do we make it better? How do we make it more accessible? How do we make it faster? This can't be the path to growth. It can't be that same time next year. Instead of 3 people making reports, it's now 6. What's the better way? So we came up with what we're dubbing right now as smart reports. I'm going to share 6 really cool features that these reports are going to have. And for those of you who are current clients or even future clients, this is a product that we're rolling out within the next month or 2. So first thing is first, so these new reports are going to have real-time data. So this is actual snippets of the report, if you guys could see from where you're sitting. If you're using, well, everyone should be using Google Analytics, Google Ads. All these sources have data absolutely in real time. So if you want to see where the visitor came from yesterday, today, compared to last year, you're able to do that. You don't have to wait for the month to be over to actually see how your month ended. You could look at your data weekly. You could look at it daily. Next is we spent more than I'd like to admit, let's say 1,000+ work hours, really working on advanced integration, saying, hey, we want to be able to integrate not just the Google products, which Google makes it very easy to integrate, but also Facebook and Bing, and also if you have any data in a database, hey, how do we get that? If we want to do phone call tracking through, for example, Dialog Tech, how do we get that? How about social media? How do we track all that so the report becomes comprehensive? We could actually compare through multiple channels. The next features is dynamic user controls. So not only will you be able to see data in real time, but you could actually control what data you see. So it's not just a slide of here's how your month ended up. You could actually say, hey, I want to see yesterday. I want to see last year. I want to see last week. And that really helps with a lot of things. And not only is it dates, but you could also sort by things. You could say, hey, what are my best days? What are my best demographics? And I'll get to that in just a moment. Next here is, and not everyone opts for it, but we always recommend it and strongly suggest it, is that we have the ability to record phone calls. And especially if you're a business in the New Jersey or New York, if you're registered there, what the law says is that you only need to have one person in knowledge that the phone call is being recorded. So say you have a receptionist or a sales team, if they know that, hey, this call is being recorded, you don't even have to play a message to the person calling your business. It just gets recorded on the back end. And through that, not only could you actually measure performance, hey, what sales did I actually get from phone calls? You could also use it for sales training, and a lot of our clients do. They listen to it and they say, hey, let's pick out the best phone calls and actually use it to train the next sales guy. And let's also pick out the mistakes that are commonly made in sales calls, and let's also use that to build a sales training manual. So these new reports not only have phone call recordings like our current reports do, but it lets you listen to them straight from the report. It also gives you some fun stats of how many phone calls did I get last month, how many minutes were in the phone call, what's the average minutes the phone call is. And that kind of helps you measure quality in terms of really getting to the bottom line of, hey, what does this data mean? Next I have here is, and this is the only part that we're still looking to do manually actually, is that we keep track of every single inquiry that comes from a contact forms on your website. So usually traditionally what marketing companies do, at least digital marketing, you're working with Google Ads and say you're working with other platforms, is you have a little conversion pixel and you say, hey, you spent this much money and you got 10 conversions. But then the obvious next question is, who are these 10 people? Are the 10 people that were bot spammers that really were not my customers, or they were actually the 10 people that ended up being my biggest customers? You actually don't really have that insight if you do things just standard. So we keep track of every single form inquiry, exactly what they filled out, their IP address, the time of day, the exact minute they filled it out. And we actually go through it manually because we've noticed that if we do it automated, you actually get a lot of junk. And sometimes the junk really clouds the data, especially if you don't have much of it. People hit the submit button 4 times. Sometimes it actually shows us 4 conversions, but then we look at the data and we say, hey, really it was just 1 person. So again, the only thing we still do manually, but it actually ends up being a big value add. And last, but certainly not least, so this is actually so exciting. We were so lucky that this happened at the time that we're actually looking to explore the initiative. So Google Data Studio is one of Google's, say, lesser known products. And it was only available actually for customers in the Google Analytics Enterprise version, which started at $150,000 per year. So that's a pretty hefty price tag, and not too many agencies actually use this, and the ones that did usually actually pass the cost down to the customer. Now it's actually 100% free. Google did this in 2017. And then we also, in addition to using Google Data Studio, which is the platform, the skeleton, we put in the thousands of plus hours of research and integrations and really looking through the data to present in the best way. And we also offered free. So for all our customers, if you do any marketing with us, you're going to get all of this for absolutely free. And again, kind of going back to my first slide, looking at data is not new. Right, but 30 years ago, for this, this data, real-time data was not even available in most cases 30 years ago, and it was expensive. Now it's absolutely free. It's 2 clicks away. So this is one slide or one page of the report, and it's probably one of my favorites. So this is a target audience analysis. So really quickly, and it takes maybe 2 minutes to do a quick analysis looking at this data, and you could see that. And this is a real client of ours, it's a fashion store, that the customers in California spend 10 times more than customers in Virginia. Well, that's important to know. If you're spending the same dollars nationwide and you're now looking at a state-by-state breakdown, you're spending the same dollars for Virginia who spent 10 times less for California. You could look deeper and say, hey, females spend more than males, about around 30%. Again, if you're not really hitting your ROI numbers yet, if you're not a break even, you look at this and say, hey, what if I take the targeting off of the male segment and look at just females and look at the age and look at where they're actually coming from? And what if I spend more there? What if I get more of that target customer that gives me a higher RPV, revenue per visitor? So some surprising insights I want to share when we actually started looking at the data this way. And here I have kind of 4 facts that are, you could say are generally commonly known facts, but these aren't even things I made up. These are facts that were actually given to us by our clients. When we sign a client, we have an onboarding process and we have a project kickoff. And one of the things we ask is, hey, what do you think your target audience is? What do you think we should target? And we get statements like this. Hey, I sell automotive parts, and I know that men shop for automotive parts. We should target men because those are my customers. I've been in business for 40 years. 9 out of 10 people going through the door are men. That's who I know to target. But if we actually look at the data, it is women who actually get a RPV of over 28% higher. So how does that make sense? So the first statement is true. More men shop for automotive parts. It's very much true. It was actually a ratio of 7 to 1. 7 times more men shop for the automotive parts than females. However, if you're looking at, hey, the females that did get to the website, how much did they spend? It was actually higher. So if you're looking at traditional media and say, hey, do I want to advertise in a men's magazine or a women's magazine for auto parts, you want to target the men's magazine because more % of men are interested in this. However, Google is a different ballgame. You're paying per click. So you don't have to do that mass media approach anymore. And again, in this case, very surprising fact that we learned, and we changed our strategy accordingly. And you're kind of going to get the pattern here, but I'm going to continue. So the next one is business gets done in cities. Business to business, big business is in cities. We realized, and this is actually a lesson we learned in our campaign, SmartSites campaign. It took us tens of thousands of dollars to learn this lesson. We started off as just New Jersey. That's where we're based out of. We said, hey, we're going to start local. We're going to prove the concept before we expand. We expanded to New York City. The results were horrible. We said, how could this be? This is where the big businesses are. This is the natural way that our business should expand. Do we have to stay in New Jersey because we're closer and those are the only people we convert, or what the heck is going on there? We did a national campaign. We said, hey, let's throw a wide net. Hopefully, we'll actually see that we could grow not only in New Jersey, and we're lucky that we did that because we realized that it wasn't just the proximity. It was actually cities that were a lot more expensive than suburbs. So for example, Philadelphia, we did horrible in, really not, the cost per conversion is absolutely horrendous, but Cherry Hill is one of our best performing suburb areas. The next one here is Botox treatment is for seniors. If we look at the data, and again, it's very much true, but 45 to 54-year-olds actually converted twice better, more than twice better than the 65-plus age bracket. And I could say any age bracket that was not 65-plus, again, in terms of cost per conversion, was actually cheaper. The 65-plus age bracket, when you're talking about cost per conversion, which really matters when you're doing this type of advertising, the 65-plus, what we thought was actually a prime market, was actually the opposite. And the last I have here is that people call from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We always ask, hey, what time should we run the ads? Usually they say, hey, we get into the office at 9, we leave at 5. That's when you should run the ads. That's when business happens. We looked at home services and a lot of other verticals too, but this stat is from home services specifically. It was actually 6 to 7 a.m. that had the best cost per conversion. Next was actually 7 to 8, and there was actually a few different hours until what you thought was the best, actually came to, was actually looked at. And again, just to note, it's not saying that more people don't call at 9 a.m. than they do at 6, but your competition is not there. The people who are looking at this at 6 a.m., it must be a bigger emergency than someone looking during normal business hours. So why does it all matter, right? We see this, so how can we actually use it, right? So first off, data is a valuable asset. And if you follow, say, the stock market or company valuations, you see that more and more the worth of a company is so much involved with the data that they have. For undergrad, I went to Cornell University, and a lot of my classes were actually very market research heavy. So we learned all about the different types of data you could get. You could do surveys, you could do focus groups. What are the biases? And you learn that all of these things are slow and they're expensive. You pay a survey company to make phone calls, say, and you get back this data and you look at it and you go, are most of my customers actually 60 plus, or is it because they called on 2 p.m. on a Tuesday? And that's kind of the data you have to work with, and it's slow and it's expensive, and many times it has a lot of errors. Again, right now what we have is accessible, it's much faster, you get in real time. So if you haven't listened to me so far, and there's one takeaway, if you have analytics on your website, and really you should, and if you don't, please do that first, analytics could actually gather all this demographics and interest data for you, free of charge. All you have to do is click one button, enable. And there is no historical data, so if you don't click that button, enable, you just don't get it. And as soon as you click it, you start getting the data. So again, for those of you taking notes, well, for those of you who are current clients, don't worry about it. Of course, we clicked it for you. That's one of the first things we do. Okay. For everyone else, do it. And man, if you come to us and you have this, I mean, it saves millions of dollars. It really does. So, and for all those resellers out there, with a few resellers, people who white label us, same thing. Tell your clients, hey, you're thinking you might close them within the next year. You might introduce them to us in 6 months. Please click this. So in 6 months from now, we have so much to work with, and we don't spend tens of thousands of dollars just guessing and building this up. Okay. All right, so you have the data, now what? So it's so interesting. When we talk about targeting by age and by demographics and by interest, everyone says, oh, that's Facebook. Yeah, it's Facebook, but it's Google too. And there's actually so many fallacies out there on the internet. If you go to Google and I literally did this a few days ago. I went to Google Images and I said Facebook ads versus Google ads. And you get these very basic tables that say, oh, Google is about intent, it's about keywords, and Facebook is about audience, it's about demographics. But that's only half true, because in Google you could target that as well. A lot of people still don't know that. Kind of, when I look in the industry, right, and I deal with small and medium businesses every single day, I kind of feel like right now is the time where Moneyball was. So by show of hands, who's seen the movie Moneyball? Okay, maybe a little less than half. So just really quickly, so Moneyball is actually a movie about baseball. And it's about a team called the A's. And it was, I believe, the early 2000s, and this was a team that was struggling, and they didn't have much money, right? And they said, how do we compete with all these big guys spending a lot of money? And they were desperate, right? And sometimes in a desperate situation, that's when innovation comes out. So they decided to say, hey, instead of using the normal scouting and bidding up for players that everyone else is bidding for, what if we really look at statistics? What if we really look at empirical evidence and use that as a basis of actually making decisions? So for example, before this, a lefty pitcher was unheard of. Hey, I don't know of a good lefty pitcher. Why would we ever recruit a lefty pitcher? Lefties can't be good at pitching. All the good pitchers are righty. I'm a lefty, by the way. So when this actually statistical evidence came out and they started looking at this, all of a sudden they started questioning their decisions, right? Think about this a few slides before. What you think you know and the assumptions you're making from it sometimes isn't leading you to the right place. And by the way, needless to say, the team that was started Moneyball, the movie was based off the A's. They won their division title. And right now, every single baseball team actually follows their practices. But this is now, say, 15 years later. So the people who did it first, really, they're the people who actually took the most advantage of it. And then everyone else, it took a lot of years to catch up. So the last point here, and this is something that we're working on, is something that we're looking to release solutions for in the later quarters of 2019, is automation. When I look at a lot of business operations here, we see a lot of things are manual still. The sales team writing an email, it's still manual. Why is it still manual? You're writing the same email 50 times per day. Oh, well, we change it a little bit. Well, why do you change it? Oh, it depends on the industry, depends on the age, it depends on the gender. Well, don't we have that data, right? And it's actually cool. Google is really helping us a lot with it. A couple of weeks ago, I was in this building, and I was here for an automation trading event. So this is something that is becoming bigger and bigger. And again, just like Moneyball, the teams, the companies who are going to take advantage of it first, they're going to be the guys that win. Everyone else is going to take them time to catch up. It's going to take them a lot of money to catch up. So workflow automation solutions is something we're working on. We're already Zapier certified, one of maybe only 10 companies. They're one of the bigger companies in the forefront of automation. And it's something we're looking to extend to our clients come 2019. And that's it for me. Hopefully you pay attention, because if you get the questions right, you win some prizes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Forward and back. Bright up here. Hello, guys. For those that don't know me, I'm Alex Mellon. I'm one of the co-founders of the company. And before we get going, I want to thank everyone for coming here today. I want to we'll do a round of applause for everyone that's here today. Thank you guys so much for coming here, and we really appreciate having you guys here. Also, I want to thank the previous speakers. We had Matt, and Mike with a lot of really good information that we'll go through the quiz. Before we start, changing the schedule a little bit. So after this, we're going to do a really, really fun quiz where you guys can win a lot of really good prizes. Actually, we're going to be giving out 3 prizes today. So first place gets an Oculus Go virtual reality. Cool, the future, VR. Second place is a Samsung tablet, and third place is headphones, the ones for the plane so you can't hear anyone. Or if you want to use them here, you could just put them on, zonk out. Before we jump in, let me see. There's an additional slide. There's another slide. There's no other slide. We'll refresh it later. So we're going to be doing this quiz. After this quiz, it's actually, instead of a traditional Q&A, we're going to change it a little bit, and we're actually going to open it up for. Should be good now? Wait, hold on. There's another. I can't click anywhere. I'm waiting. I'll keep going. Instead of traditional Q&A, we're actually going to have, we're going to open up to like a longer networking event so you guys could talk to all the SmartSites employees, not just have a couple of people on stage. And then after that, we're going to have one of these out there. So we're going to actually be having a happy hour, and there's going to be a lunch and everything. So a lot of fun stuff coming up. But before we jump, so we'll do one quick exercise. So right after this ends, we're going to bring all the SmartSites people on stage so you know them. But before I do that, all the SmartSites employees, can you raise your hands really quick? So guys, look around the room. These are the SmartSites folks that, they're all on one side of the room, but these are the guys you want to track down as soon as we're done with the quiz. And of course, as Matt mentioned before, I think it's a really good idea to also talk with all the other people coming here. I think it's everyone here has fantastic businesses that they run, and I think they're along with learnings that we could share and help with. I think there's a lot you could learn from each other as well. So I think there'll be luckily, we'll have extra time now, so it'll be a really good networking and as you guys saw, happy hour event. Cool. So for this quiz, this is going to be really fun. Hopefully, everyone was paying attention, and of course, we have the fun prizes. If you guys could pull out your cell phones, and you're going to go to the website URL at the top there, kahoot.it. Take your time, pull it out. Once you go to that website, you'll have to enter a PIN code, and we'll have that for you shortly. For the SmartSites employees that I now know are all on this side of the room, you can't win any prizes. So if you participate, you have to start getting some answers wrong towards the end, please. I think you click classic and it should load it. It'll load up now. Cool. So that's the PIN you enter, and it'll show how many people are in. So I'll know if people are just snoozing and not participating. So go to kahoot.it, and then you enter that PIN code. Is there volume? It'll play some music. We'll feel we're on a game show. There we go. Look at this. Look at all the people joining in. This one's going to be a tough one. I hope everyone's been paying attention. Oh, and on top of the prizes we're giving out, there's also going to be a Google goodie bag for everyone. So if you somehow try to leave early before happy hour, make sure you find someone from SmartSites, and we'll get you the Google goodie bag as well. 57. Come on, there's more people in here than that. I want to see towards 100. More. If you have 2 cell phones, you could join on both. iPad, laptops. We have the head count. I know it's higher than that. 65. The music already stopped. There we go. Let's try and make it 70 and then we'll start. If there's anyone still pulling out their cell phones. Anyone that fell asleep? 68. Come on, we have big prizes. Virtual reality. 68. And get two more. Two more who didn't pull out their cell phones. Going once, going twice. Get started. Oh, 69. Joining twice. We have a PPC Lord up there. These are good ones. We'll go 69. All right, get ready. So it's going to show you a question at the top. I'll read it for you guys, and you could also see it. On your cell phones, you'll have the answers. Question number 1, when was SmartSites founded? On your cell phone, you could pick the colors that are the options over there. We have some game music to move this along. So each question you have 30 seconds. It'll count down on the left, and then so you get points for not only getting it right, but who answers the quickest as well. Half the people said 2001. That'd been nice. 17 years. The correct answer is 2011. So we had a couple companies that date back further, but SmartSites officially was started in 2011. We had 35 people that got it right. Could go to next. I think it'll show us who's winning now on the next screen. There we go. Definitely not FR. We have Jon Snow, So SmartSites, PPC Poe, and Tara J. So far that's how our rankings are. Okay, go to question number 2. We're not going fast enough? Is that what I heard from the audience? 40% of customers will abandon a site that takes over this many seconds to load. So this is based on Matt Prepis' slides, not Matt Target slides. You guys are quick. I was going to do 20 seconds at first, but I was like, let me do 30 seconds to be safe. But you guys are quick with these. 6 people who haven't answered yet. 5, 4, 3. There we go. Wow. So I love this quiz because it's interesting. Even the tough questions, it's always like the majority somehow figures out what the right answer should be. Could go next one. Let's see who's winning. Jon Snow is number 1. We have PPC Poe, who cannot win a prize, so he's going to have to start losing soon. Definitely not FR, IC, and Prince B. Next one. What Google product will provide the platform for SmartSites' new reporting interface? So this is from Mike's session. Choices are Google Blockchain, Google Doodles, Google VR, and Google Data Studio. Matt, you could keep winning for a little bit longer. 16 questions. Take a break. Two, one. Wow, almost everyone. Google Data Studio. So this is the product that Mike talked about. It's actually a really, really powerful enterprise solution that could drive such crazy real-time reports from data from like everywhere. And it's going to be a really cool product that powers our next reporting platform. Next question. Jon Snow, IC, Prince B, Mike, and Susan T. And PPC Poe dropped out skipped the last question. Next one. SmartSites is a fill in the blank. Google Dance Partner, Google Magento Partner, Google Channel Partner, or Google Frequent Flyer Partner? One person has an answer with 5 seconds to go. Two people picked Google Frequent Flyer Partner. We also had one for Google Dance Partner. Next, Jon Snow is number 1. IC, Mike, Susan T, and Reliable. Reliable came out of nowhere. Next question. What percent of advertisers spend in the United States is spent on digital in 2018? Choices are 10%, 15, 38, or 90. So this is how much money are people spending on digital? Answer is 38%. So it's now actually the majority because TV is a little bit under that, but it's was obviously at 10, 15, or 90, but it's actually been growing, and it's not even that percent itself that's important, is that where people spend their time is much higher than that. I think she has it predicted for next year, 60% of all time spent on digital, and again, only 38% of the spend is, so that's why we still have the arbitrage opportunity and why digital still provides such great results. Next question, let's see who's winning. I see Susan T, Reliable, Moon, and Joe Boss. Next one. What does RPV stand for? So this is from Mike's slide. I think he mentioned it twice. This is when he was talking about the different demographics and how there's a lot of misunderstanding and how where the best value add is. Oh, I didn't read the options. Revenue per visitor, we have Republican Party of Virginia, remotely piloted vehicles, and revenue per vehicle. Almost everyone, revenue per visitor. So RPV is revenue per visitor, so it's important, especially in digital, to think about in that context because you're only paying for that click for that visitor, as opposed to billboards, TV, and print where you're paying just for the audience to see it. Here you only pay for that specific visitor. Next. I see Susan T, Moon, Joe Boss, and Nelson. Next, we're about halfway through. SmartSites was founded by 2 sisters, 3 brothers, 3 sisters, or 2 brothers. I snuck in a lot of SmartSites trivia in there to throw you guys off. $68. We lost 1 person since we started with 69. 2 brothers. What were the other selections? 3 brothers. I might have another brother out there that I haven't met yet. It's possible. See what the scores look like. Susan T, IC, Moon, Nelson, and Reliable. There's still a chance for everyone to win. Again, it's answering the right question. Actually, it takes into account how quick you answer it. Next question. What category generates the highest revenue per visitors for auto parts stores? Again, in Mike's presentation, we have children, we have the elderly, we have women, and we have men. I always figured children to be really big into auto part industry. $68. Somehow lost 1 person. I think after question 2, we just lost 1 person. We do have 2 people saying children are the best category for auto parts. You know what? Mike's son is a car fanatic. I don't think he has access to payment methods yet, but he's 2. He's 2. Cool. Let's see how the scores look. I see we have Moon, Nelson, Prince B, and Tara J. So still, as you guys see, it's still opportunity for everyone to win the VR device. Next. During what times are the best conversion rates for the home services industry? Again, from Mike's slide. This is one of those misconception categories. So you have midnight to 6 a.m., you have 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., you have 5 to midnight, and you have 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So as Mike mentioned, actually home services, most people advertise 9 to 5 because that's the only time they want to pick up the phone. But the question is that the best conversion rates? Best time for conversion rates? 70 answers. We only had 69 participants. Did someone hack this thing out there? The answer is 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. So this is based on the data that SmartSites recorded. Actually, best conversions are in the morning for home services. Your pipe bursts in the morning, right, or overnight. You come into a kitchen, water's flowing everywhere. You got to call right before you go to work, not 9 to 5 when actually most home service people are taking the calls. Cool. Let's see how the score looks. That one was a tricky one. A lot of people got it wrong. Moon, IC, Nelson, Prince B, and Tara J. Next question. Where do you enable audience advanced data collection? And this is, again, from Mike's presentation. You have Google Analytics, you have Google Ads, you have Facebook Business Manager, which you're not allowed to talk about in here, and you have the SmartSites AC portal. Three, two, one. Google Analytics. So that was Mike's presentation. That's where you enable, once you enable it, you can actually have all that data going forward, and only works going forward. So at the very least, when you guys go home today, if you have access to your Google Analytics, if it is not enabled, you want to enable it. It costs nothing, and then it only collects data going forward. We had 3 people that said Google Ads, which wasn't bad. No one said Facebook Business Manager. That was a good sign. Let's see how the scores look. Moon, IC, Nelson, Prince B, and Tara J. Only 3 people win a prize. Next. Which of the following is not a feature of SmartSites report, Smart Reports? So this is the report interface that Mike talked about. So this is a tough one. So read it. Well, when I say read it before you respond, but already 50 people responded. Real-time data, dynamic user controls, artificial intelligence, and phone call reporting. This was a tough one. So the feature, one thing that is not a feature is artificial intelligence. This was a tough one, though. Could go next. See if we knocked any winners out. Oh, we have a new name up on the board. So you have Moon, IC, Prince B, Tara J, and LICC David. Next. Which of the following audience data is not available in Google Analytics? So this is the data that you cannot get from Google Analytics. So you have geography, you have age, you have religious affinity, and you have gender. You guys are quick. I didn't even finish the sentence. There's already 60 people. Everyone wants to win a prize. Almost everyone picked the right. So geography, age, and gender, you can actually see in analytics, Google Analytics, and you could slice it any way you want. So you could see which of those categories converts better, which one stays on the website longer. It's actually a really cool data that you guys already have in analytics that you could analyze, and we analyze on your behalf. Next, let's see who's winning. Moon, IC, Tara J, Prince B, and Carol. Next question. I think we're heading towards a final couple. What % of consumers do research before entering a store? This is a tough one. I think we might, the leaderboard might shake up after this one. 15%, 100, 33, and 87. %. Literally, it's not 100, but it's very close to it. 87% of people do research before entering a store, and most likely digital research. Literally any store you go into, whether it's Home Depot, whether it's a car dealership, people literally research that product before they go in, and this has moved a crazy amount from 3-4 years ago. I remember doing in a presentation, similar data stat 4 or 5 years ago, where at that time it was crazy at 25% of the people did digital research before coming in. Now almost everyone coming into a store, even the hardware stores like Home Depot, Lowe's, people have researched a product on Amazon or whatever it is before coming in. Cool, scoreboard. That one, we might have knocked off some people on there. IC, Tara J, Prince B, Carol, and LICC David is back after a 3-question break. Next question. 14 out of 16, almost done. What town was SmartSites initially founded in? Mountain View, California, Little Ferry, New Jersey, Little Falls, New Jersey, and Big Falls, New Jersey. Wow. Little Falls, New Jersey was the most popular answer. That was a tough one. We didn't talk about it today at all, so that we'll see how that mixed up the scoreboard though. Next. Tara J, Prince B, Bal, IC, and YS. I think 2 questions to go, so anyone could still win it. The scores are very tight. Could go next one. This is from Mike's presentation. Moneyball is a movie where you have 30 seconds, so feel free to take time to read the question. Gut instincts proved to be victorious in the game of rugby. Data-driven statistical analysis was used in baseball. Angels in the outfield fly to help win the game. And Owen Wilson stars as a Google intern. Moneyball. Wow. I thought a lot more people would get that one wrong. Everyone was paying attention. Cool, I think maybe one more question. Let's go next. Either 1 or 2. Score Prince B, Tara J, Bal, YS, and IC. Everyone's scores are very close together. Let's go next one. The last one, bonus question. Prior to Google, Matt Target won an Olympic medal in what sport? This is like a super bonus question. Is Matt still here? Matt ran out. It's a happy hour already. So this is our Google rep, Matt Target, that was speaking earlier here today. From you guys seeing him speak, did he look like a soccer player, swimmer, boxer, or volleyball player? That's gonna determine the winner. Wow. Volleyball was not a bad choice. Volleyball was not a bad choice. Let's see the winners. Next. We have Prince B, Val, and Tara J. Can someone bring out, can the 3 winners come on stage and Mike will hand out the prizes? 3 winners. SmartSites were excluded. I saw the side of the room. Mike, prizes?
Go in height order of losing. 3rd,
Tara. Hey, Tara.
Prince.
Go on stage. Anyone? Go on stage with the prize. They'll take a picture. Someone take a picture.
You are the points forward number 3, so you
Number 3.
have fun.
Thank you, guys. Applause. Thank you, everyone. Cool. So again, I want to thank all of you guys for coming. I want to thank Google for hosting this whole event. I want to bring the SmartSites folks up on stage so you guys know what they look like and can find them during the next 2 hours. SmartSites folks on stage. Can you cut to back to a PowerPoint with Matt with the wine bottles? Oh, I have the remote. I could do it. There we go, guys. So applause for all the SmartSites folks who made it up on stage. Along with networking with each other, find these guys, ask them questions. We have this space and the outside space for at least 2 hours. So I think that's good, and that's what's waiting for you outside. And there's Matt over there waiting for you as well. Matt, you missed the bonus question about you. A third of the people thought you won medals for being a volleyball player. That's yeah. Cool. Applause for you guys. Thank you again for coming. We have at least 2 hours. Get food, get drinks, find all these lovely people over here, and ask them lots of great questions.